Hello and welcome back to our channel. Today's video is all about which is the best bird, Goshawk, Redtail or Harris's Hawk. So we're going to give you an insight into which is best between these three species. We're going to have a look a little bit at their sort of recent modern history of these three birds within falconry, and we're going to talk to three individual falconers, two seasoned falconers and have an experience of a variety of birds of prey and hunting with them, and we're going to talk to another guy who is a newbie, which many people watching this video will be quite new to falconry, so we're going to get an insight from a newbie falconer about the bird he flies and why he's picked that particular species. So from a personal perspective, I've flown goshawks for many years, three individuals over many years. My first proper falconry / hunting bird was a goshawk that I brought from a breeder fresh from the chamber, a great guy called Ray Muttock, one of the few breeders of goshawks in the UK at the time, back in the day. That bird, after several seasons, went to the Washington State Falconers Association. It actually got exported to the USA as a breeding bird. My second goshawk was after living abroad. I just couldn't wait to get back into falconry, had a 2-year lapse, and I brought a 1-year-old parent-reared goshawk male, which actually was a fully imprinted bird with lots of vices, which turned out to be fantastic given the time and the work. And my third goshawk was another male, a large Finnish goshawk, and that was without doubt my personal best falconry bird I shall ever fly in my life, for many reasons. I've also flown and hunted with Harris hawks, males and females, individually and as a cast for several seasons. Fantastic birds that they are. And I've also flown and hunted with Redtail Hawks, and again, fantastic birds, but which is best? Now, is best the most popular? So here in the UK, and that's the only experience I have, I can't talk about the USA, Far East or the rest of Europe, but there's going to be similar sort of tram lines going through them all. The most popular bird here in the UK for decades now has been the Harris's Hawk. So surely that's the best bird for falconry. Surely it's the most popular. It's more complicated than that, isn't it? So the reason we've picked these three birds, and the reason it's a perennial question between these three particular species, is because they're all reasonably readily available here in the UK. They're all capable across their males and females, because they're similar sizes. They're all capable of taking the similar or the same quarry, and they're all capable of flying in the same sort of terrain. Now, for most falconers in the UK flying either of these three species, you'd be looking at typical English or typical English countryside really, which is going to be a mixture of open fields, hedgerows, small copses and small woodlands as a generalised rule. Some on flatter lands, some on hillier lands. So the most popular by far is the Harris's Hawk. Does that make it the best? Well, let's look at why it is the most popular, and I can tell you it's not based, unfortunately, on whether it's the worst, the best, indifferent. In the UK, right now, it's 2021, the Harris's Hawk for a long time has been the most popular bird employed in falconry for no other reason than it's cheap. It's that simple. So let's look at it now. Nowadays, a Harris's Hawk, depending on male and female, is going to cost you somewhere between £200 £350 on average. Goshawk is going to cost you somewhere between £600 and £1,000 on average. There's more expensive ones out there, but on average. A Redtail Hawk is going to cost you somewhere around £500 on average. So let's change that around. If Redtail Hawks were £100 each to buy, captive bred in the UK, and Harris's Hawks were £2,000 each to buy, captive bred in the UK, and Goshawks following suit were, let's say, £3,000 each, the most popular bird flown in falconry in the UK would be the Redtail Hawk, without a doubt. The Harris Hawk has been a victim of its own success in captive breeding. They breed so easily. There's not too many produced. They all get sold, but there's so many produced, the only real way to sell them is to advertise them cheaply. If the price is £200, you can't sell yours for £1,000. It's that simple. So it's made it the most popular hawk. Now it's also more forgiving in many ways to train as a falconry bird. So it's now got dubbed the beginner's bird. You can dabble in falconry and maybe achieve some success with a Harris's hawk, where you'd struggle much more with the other two species. Let's turn the clock back. Let's turn the clock back to 30 years. 30 years ago, I paid £1,200 for my first hunting bird. It was a goshawk from the breeder. At that time, Redtail Hawks were £450 each, and Harris's Hawks were around £900 each at that time. Before then, much more. Redtails were quite commonly flown birds because they were cheaper. In fact, as an entry-level bird, a beginner's bird if you must, the common buzzard was the bird of choice. It was £200. So let's look at that. £200 for a common buzzard. But since then, the Harris Hawk has bred so well, almost no one breeds common buzzards in captivity. It's almost impossible to get one if you want to train one for falconry or falconry displays. And if you can find one, they're around £600 each now. Redtail Hawks were £450, they're £500. The price hasn't changed in 30 years. Harris's Hawks have gone from about £900 down to £200 or £300, affordable for anyone nowadays. And Goshawks, female Goshawk for £1,200, it's more or less static. So you can really see that in real money, the other two species haven't hardly increased in value. So they're much, much cheaper now, much cheaper than 30 years ago. That was a lot more money then. But the Harris's Hawk has actually plummeted in price. It is more forgiving, so it can make a beginner's bird. But the reason it's the most popular is definitely price alone. It's a sad fact. So let's have a word first with a falconer who's in his first season right now. He's in his 2020-2021 falconry season. His name's Tommy. He's a great friend of my son Kyle. He's been a countryman for many years. They're only young lads compared to me, but for many years they're both country bumpkins. They love the country life and they love wildlife. They love their hunting. Tommy has got into falconry because he's been out with my son Kyle on numerous occasions and he's realised it's a very different sport from, say, shooting. It requires a certain difference in the way you go about it, because at the end of the day, it's about how you train the hawk, not about how good you are at something, because at the end of the day, it comes down to another animal with a brain. It's a very pure form of hunting. So let's have a word with Tommy first and see why he chose the species out of those three that he flies right now.
My name's Tom. I'm friends with Kyle, Dave's son, and I've been out flying falconry birds with them for about 5 or 6 years now before deciding to get my first Harris Hawk this season.
So if you've been out flying with other birds, what made you choose a Harris Hawk?
Kyle, who I go out with, he flies a female red-tailed hawk and a female Harris Hawk. And for the type of land I hunt on, well, got permission on, this Harris Hawk was the best suited for the type of quarry I've got available. Originally I wanted a female, but that didn't happen as we had to emergency crash rear these two males, and I decided this one. His name's Alan, and yeah, we've had a brilliant first season together.
Interesting insight there from a newbie falconer. Now, there's two things I've got to say about this. One's about Tommy, and one's about the male Harris's Hawk that he flies. Firstly, Tommy isn't like, I'm going to say about 90% of UK newbie falconers, and this is harsh, and I hope you're not one of them if you're watching this, but I've got to say, most novice falconers in the UK dabble in falconry. They don't really get into it wholeheartedly. They don't do any research or very limited research up front. Tommy's one of the good lads, and I'm lucky this year to know several young people that have been flying birds of prey relatively recently that have really listened to stuff. I don't just mean to me, they've really done their research. Tommy really has done his research. He's a genuine novice falconer who is already becoming exceptional in the field, and it's great to see. Also, the bird he's flying. because that bird is incredibly special, and I'll tell you why. And I would never recommend any novice falconer ever to go down this route with their first Harris's Hawk. But that Harris's Hawk was imprinted, hand-reared by Kyle and Tommy, along with its brother, and only by the amazing place that my son Kyle works, which gives him access to huge areas of farmland. It's actually horse land. It's where horses are kept, if you like, away from the public. The bird was completely tame hacked. That means it and its brother were allowed free from the minute they could fly, and they returned to be sociable, because don't forget the Harris's Hawk is the only really sociable species among these three. It returned to be sociable and to be fed. It was training, flying and super fit before anyone else's parent-reared Harris Hawks are taken from the breeder, which is usually around 16 weeks. It was actually flying in gale force winds amongst the treetops when other falconers wouldn't have started training their Harris's Hawks. And it was also taking its first quarry before any normal falconers with a Harris's Hawk parent-reared would be flying their birds free. So it's had an exceptional start to life. It started super fit, really, before Tommy started flying it seriously. It had developed its skills flying free in the wind like any young bird would naturally do. The work the guys have put into these birds to get them to this stage is phenomenal, but the good fortune of Kyle's workplace, not only the fields around, but the fact that there's other people there with dogs, there's horses, they all sort of put a hand into rearing these birds, and would often ring Kyle and say, I don't know what you're doing, Kyle, but your bird's waiting to come in. And it would chuck the dogs, or they're the two brother Harris Hawks, they would turf the dogs from their beds, from the living accommodation, and they would snuggle up in the dog's bed and watch TV. So a very different start, but in most ways it's a Harris's Hawk like others. Let's go and have a chat now with Kyle, who has really been Tommy's mentor. Kyle's now been involved with birds of prey alongside me since he was a few years old, and he's gone on to train and work with his own birds of different kinds, an avid countryman. So let's have a chat and see what Kyle thinks of this conundrum of the three species.
Hi, I'm Kyle Daveson, and this is Melly, a red-tailed hawk, or red-tailed buzzard. She's 3 years old now, and I've been flying her for 3 seasons. I suppose the reason why I fly a red-tailed hawk, I've actually been flying a female Harris's Hawk, Zara, who you might have seen on some of the previous videos, for maybe about 6 seasons. I think she's 8 or 9 now. Absolutely love flying that bird. She was demonic, is the only descriptive word I can think of, out in the field, hunting a wide variety of quarry, everything from feather to fur. The reason I got a red-tailed hawk, I don't actually like red-tailed hawks, well, I didn't 3 years ago, but Dad decided he wanted a red-tailed hawk. I've been offered some of these dark morphed red-tailed hawks, which is just a colour variation. I thought they looked pretty. He said he'd get one on the condition that I trained it and hunted it, which I was happy to oblige to. Unfortunately, that was the first red-tail, Melly's sister Callie, who sadly passed away from suspected aspergillosis. A good friend was flying the direct sister from the same clutch, and offered me if I'd like to purchase her, so I did. We hunt mainly brown hares, so I'll fly her out of the hood. So I'll take the hood off when a hare were to get up, flush, and slip her at that hare, sort of like you would an eagle, but with a much shorter range, and obviously a hell of a lot more difficult to hold on to a hare with a smaller bird. We also ferret out rabbits, so we'll put a ferret down a rabbit warren, that will bolt a rabbit, and she will chase that rabbit and hopefully catch it for a dinner. What would I prefer to fly? I think in terms of falconry, Harris's Hawk is a much better bird of prey. They can hunt a wide variety of species. They're very versatile on the ground and the way in which you want to fly them. Zara, she will chase pheasants from the fist. She will follow on, catch rabbits, squirrels, other animals while she's following on through the trees. I've caught hares while she's soared on open land, hilly land, and I've also flown her from the hood like I do with Melly. So they're really easy to get along with hunting wise once you've made that hawk. Melly is a little bit more difficult, definitely not as intelligent. She's being a buzzard, not our common buzzard, but a species of buzzard found across Americas. She is very lazy by nature, and that, like perhaps an eagle, makes them much more difficult to get fit. I have to put a lot more fitness work into Melly before getting her hunting, unlike the Harris's hawk. Although I would say that actually makes it, I can't think of the word, perhaps more rewarding, because you have to invest that more effort and time in to make a good bird. I don't want a substandard bird, I want to work on that bird's fitness to be able to fly it in the way I do, which is off the fist, out the hood, at an animal that's already running across open land. So that's the rewarding aspect of it. I think Harris's hawks are my preferred choice if I were to live off of what one catches, purely because of the versatility of the bird. But I do enjoy her. I enjoy flying her.
Hope you found Kyle's insight useful there. And again, I've got to stress, we're not talking about dabblers, we're not talking about keyboard warriors. We're talking about avid falconers, no matter what their sort of timescale. Tommy not for very long, Kyle now for several years. We're talking people that live and breathe falconry, and that is the only successful way to be a falconer. You have to fit your lifestyle around your falconry. If you want to dabble in falconry and have it as a weekend hobby, it's not for you. You'll never get real success and progress very, very far. So understand, we're talking to real falconers that live and breathe falconry here. Let's change things up. Let's talk to a slightly older chap, much like myself, my friend and colleague Carl. And Carl came into falconry as a grown man. As I know, he's not grown up around it. He didn't start as a young lad. He came into falconry as a mature man. But again, very quickly, he lived and breathed falconry. Carl has actually been a professional falconer now for decades. His job is working with falcons full time. He runs a team of working falcons for his day job, which is pest control, serious pest control. But he's also remained true and loyal to his falconry. He still flies falconry, short wing, broad wings, however you'd like to phrase them, non-falcons, within the realms of the Harris hawk, the Goshawk, and the Redtail. Let's see what he has to say about these three.
Hi, my name's Carl. This is my Goshawk Athena. She's in her second year. Female adults flying around £2.9. First Goshawk I've ever flown. I spent most of my life flying a Redtail. Started off with a Harris hawk when I first started in falconry 17 years ago. Flew a lovely male Harris hawk for 5 years. He went off to a breeding programme. And I took up a Redtail, flew that for 13 years, had a wonderful, wonderful time with the Redtail. And now she is flying still with one of my mates up in the Wirral. He's still flying to this day. She is going to be 14, I believe, now. So she's still working well. And I decided to step up the ladder and have a go at flying a Goshawk, which has been a complete different thing altogether. I've spent a year and a half trying to work out how and what makes this bird tick. Completely different to a Harris hawk, which was always great fun and enjoyed it. Redtail was a bit more serious, but once we got to grips with her, she was very, very good, very, very loyal, and I decided to get myself a English German short-hair pointer, because I wanted to actually fly pheasant with a Goshawk with a dog on point. So it's one of the main reasons I went for a Goshawk, because the Redtail didn't really accept the dog. I could have worked at it, but it would have taken a long, long time. It's too much stress for the bird. When I had the dog, this bird came 2 years later after I had the dog for a while, so the dog was always here. And the dog was basically part of me. So she accepted us both together. She's just starting to understand now what the dog's for. She's watching her and she sees her in cover, and she knows she's actually working for her. But she has been a challenge, unbelievable challenge, this bird. And I finally figured out how she ticks. And it's basically less quality food and a higher weight. I've tried, because it is a weight management thing, and I've tried to weight up and down, up and down, up and down. And because these birds are so nervous, they have a lot of nervous energy, so their metabolism, I can't even say that, metabolism is so much faster than a hawk, than the Redtail Hawk and the Harris Hawk, which normally float and take carrion, kind of a buzzard species really. But when you work them and you train them and you get them fit, Harris Hawks and Redtails are stunning, fantastic birds. Flown every day, flown at the right quarry, and as long as they're fit and strong, they'll do anything for you. These are a completely different animal altogether. You have to get inside their brain, you have to try and work out what makes them tick. They're very, very nervous, very highly strung. A lot of people these days are taking on imprints, which if you do it properly and do it right, you can have a fantastic Goshawk as an imprint. But I decided I wanted to fly a parent reared one, which is a parent reared bird. It's a lot harder. You have to put more effort in it. And I think now we've just turned the corner and I'm starting to understand her now. She's pretty calm at the moment, which is very unusual. And that's it really.
Thanks, Carl, and I hope you guys there found that insight interesting. So slightly different opinions. I think there's a theme forming here. We'll think about that in a second. So what did we learn from these three falconers about the three different species? Which is best? Which is best? I think what we've learnt is they kind of got their favourites maybe, but none of them have really given us a conclusive answer to which actually is the best bird. The Goshawk, the Redtail, the Harris's Hawk, which is the best? And there's a reason for that. Which is best comes down to your circumstances. It comes down to where you fly your birds, because they're all similar. They can all work in a similar area. But there are niches. It comes down to your personality, how you are. Are you highly strung? Do you get stressed easily? Are you chilled out? Are you very methodical? Are you a little bit slapdash in your approach to things? Your personality massively influences which is the best, because it is which is the best for you. The answer is, of course, none of them are the best. None of them are the best at all. They're equally as good birds depending on you and what you want to get from your falconry and what you can offer the bird as an individual within its falconry job. So within the realms of this career move, if you like, I get asked all the time, which is your favourite bird? Which is your favourite for falconry? Which one do you like to be around the most? And until 7 or 8 years ago, my honest answer was, it's the one that I'm flying right now. Non-falconry wise, if I'm flying a barn owl in a quiet field I have permission on near my house, a lovely summer's evening, old meadowland, and my barn owl's just free flying, coming back to the glove, almost in the perfect barn owl setting. The blackbirds might be sort of singing down the evening, just magical. If I've flown a perisaker that specks out above me in a blue sky on a thermal, and if I can catch it before it specks out, stoops vertically as a teardrop all the way down, loyally above my head to the lure, mind-blowing. Nothing else like it. If I'm working with a goshawk, absolutely thrilling, and I'll tell you why in a second. If I'm working with a redtail, that sort of sledgehammer brute force of a redtail, and seeing a redtail stoop at game again is absolutely amazing. If I'm working with a Harris Hawk, or maybe my cast of Harris Hawks, again, how amazing to work as part of a team like that. So my honest answer was whatever bird I'm flying at the time is absolutely brilliant. Several years ago, I started training a 20-week-old golden eagle, and he's been my falconry life since then, for sure. The differences are not really for this video, but there's just something about it that becomes all-absorbing. Catch very little, put way too much time in for relatively low amount of flights, but as a sum of the parts, there's something about that. But that's for another video for sure. So what's the differences then? If we're saying none of these birds are best, they're only best for you, let's look at the differences. Let's start with the Harris's hawk. Now, it's a beginner's bird, isn't it? It's cheap, it's a beginner's bird. That's what everyone will tell you. How sad is that? It's a professional, it's a master level falconer's bird for sure. As a beginner's bird, it performs well and it helps beginners get a handle on a falconry very easily. I would say way too easily. In the hands of a master falconer or a proper falconer that's going to fly that bird at least 5 days a week and fly it at game or quarry at least 5 days a week, the Harris hawk is a completely different bird from the hawk that we know and love as the Harris hawk, the beginner's bird. Its performance goes from dropping out of a tree onto a pheasant scurrying below to a bird that'll chase a woodcock for 200 metres. It won't catch it. It might catch it when it puts in. It won't catch it over distance as if it was a fair slip. But that Harris hawk that can chase down a woodcock or chase a partridge or chase a duck, a wild duck from a stream, is a phenomenon. But most Harris hawks can do that. The difference is most Harris hawks are never flown by falconers that put the time in. And the time, we're talking several days a week, really, 5 days a week at least, of proper hunting. Those birds suddenly become full of stamina, completely driven as a species to catch their own food, and incredibly fast. Incredibly fast. I actually got to watch that scenario recently with a male Harris hawk chasing a woodcock. Woodcock got away for sure, but breathtaking to see what a Harris hawk is capable of in the right hands. Now, of course, it offers something else, doesn't it, that the others don't offer really. It offers sociability. You can fly it in groups. You can fly it with your friends and their Harris hawks if they know each other and get on okay. You can fly it as in a way a better part of a team, because all those birds learn to work as a team, but it's not natural for them. It's natural for a Harris hawk, even a parent-reared one, to be a team player. It's one of only 2 species of birds in the world that actively hunt in a pack in the wild. The other one's a Galapagos hawk. So you've got a bird that hunts in a pack in the wild, or can do and often does. It fits in to falconry fantastically well. It accepts your ferret isn't something to be eaten. It's something that produces game for it to chase. It accepts that you're an ally and you help it find game. It hates your dog. Hates your dog. It's hardwired to hate coyotes and golden eagles. They rob Harris hawks of their kills in the wild. Hates your dog, but it'll accept your dog as an amazing part of the team. How ridiculous. Because working in a team, you've got a sociable bird and a bird that's more intelligent than a redtail and a goshawk for sure. It's not the fastest, it's the thinker, and a fit, well-conditioned Harris hawk is mind-blowingly fast and mind-blowingly successful. Sadly, we don't see many of them like that because it's cheap, it's become the beginner's bird. It's often flown to about 10% of its own ability, which is a real shame. Fantastic bird. The only thing I'm going to say on pack hunting is if you train your own Harris hawks and later you introduce them and you fly them as maybe a cast, and it's quite possible for one falconer easily to fly 2 Harris hawks on their own. That's very different than flying with your mates. I've got to say, one of the worst kind of Harris hawking I personally see is a group of falconers that go out the weekend with 4 or 5, 6 Harris hawks, fly them through woodland, rabbits and pheasants running below, because almost always those birds are the most mediocre Harris hawks you'll ever see, and it's simply because they don't get a lot of time flying on their own. You'll often get one good one and the others will follow on and try and steal the kill at the end. And I will say, you're never going to get anything like the best from your Harris hawk if you fly it on its own first and make it a super fit, super missile, super driven hunting bird. That Harris hawk, again, is streets ahead. And it can still be later on used and employed in a team setting. So our cast of Harris hawks were flown to a good level of falconry before they were flown together. They knew their job. So what does the redtail offer you that the Harris hawk doesn't? Well, it can be flown in the same terrain. It's, again, incredibly fast, once fit. I'd hazard a guess that the Harris hawk's a faster bird when fit, but the redtails are shockingly fast once fit. What it does offer you is, if you are a novice falconer, I think personally it'll teach you more about falconry. It'll teach you more about the respect of the bird, the respect of how you feed the bird and develop that bird's hunting skills on a kill. It'll teach you more how to manage weight and how to condition the birds mentally to get them driven, because red tails behave much more like a golden eagle. They are scavengers. All birds are really, aren't they? All birds of prey if they can, but they're scavengers, they're thieves, and they're designed to do very little and get rewards that way. So sit and wait predators if they can, soaring predators if they can, stooping down on their game, not having to fly flat out in a straight line chase, which is much harder. But just like golden eagles, if conditioned properly, red tails become awesome hunting partners, incredibly fast off the fist. And one thing they have is an absolute brute force sledgehammer approach. The one bird that will follow quarry into brambles, nettles, sticks and stones without stopping at all is the Redtail Hawk. They are breathtaking on their pursuit of game. They will not stop. They would pretty much fly through a brick wall if the quarry they were after somehow squeezed through it first. They are the sledgehammer brute force birds, much faster than people think, and aces up their sleeve. If you're flying brown hares with something as small as these three species, the redtail's feet, whilst not a huge foot span like a female goshawk, their feet are so incredibly powerful and so sturdy. They are a great hare hawk if you want to risk these birds with hares, and they're all capable as females for sure. Another thing I see a lot on social media is people catching grey squirrels. They're invasive in the UK. We shouldn't have them here. They're detrimental to our own wildlife. Is hunting grey squirrels with their Harris's hawks or their goshawks, but especially Harris's hawks. More people fly Harris's hawks. Really, really dangerous for your hawk. Your Harris's hawk, we've all done it, will love to chase grey squirrels. They'll catch grey squirrels. They might catch one, they might catch 3, they might catch 50. Sooner or later, your Harris's hawk is going to take a savage and severe bite to its legs and feet, and it will be out of action. It's going to happen for sure. The first time, the 100th time, that bird will be out of action for your season or forever. Absolutely, definitely, if you pursue squirrels. Redtail hawks, they become masters at hunting squirrels, but it's still a huge risk for you. Their sturdiness, their toughness, and their ginormously thick legs often take and subdue squirrels in a much different way. If that's what you're going to hunt, the redtail is the only bird I'd risk if I would risk anything with squirrels. Squirrels have the most savage bites. Redtails are tough. Carl, who we spoke to earlier, his redtail once got electrocuted. It got electrocuted for quite a long time. Now, if you see a cartoon of someone being electrocuted on direct current, it just sort of freezes. Can't get away from the power source. It's stuck to it. It actually had the voltage blew through up its foot, blew out the top of its thigh, blew a hole in the top of its thigh and damaged its foot. And it was stuck on that power pole for quite some time. Finally came off. That bird made a full recovery. Complete full recovery. Redtails are tough. I don't think the other two species would put up with that, that's for sure. But I don't think that's one reason to get one, in case it gets electrocuted. The goshawk. What does that offer you then? Because we see a lot of falconers, especially novices, they get a Harris hawk, they go out with their friends who are more seasoned with goshawks, saying, the goshawk catches more, it's faster, it catches more, I'm going to get rid of my Harris hawk. That's a big no-no, isn't it? A beginner's bird. Straight away, you're implying you're only going to have it a while and get rid of it. Don't do that. All birds of prey mature with age and become better and better and better. They only don't become better if you don't give them the opportunity. The goshawk, we've talked about the Harris hawk, a chilled out guy. We've talked about redtails, equally chilled out guys to have around the place. They soon get tamed down and manned down and become super chilled out. Goshawks, this is where your personality really comes in. Super exciting. The goshawk, when it leaves your glove in a direct off-the-fist flight in pursuit of game, it is mind-blowing. It has a speed of 0 to 60, if you like, that leaves the others in its wake. the actual initial acceleration, and you cannot fail to be wowed when a goshawk flies from the fist after game. It seems to be going at full speed the minute it takes off, and that is the sheer blistering thrill of a goshawk. The 0 to 60 speed is mind-blowing, and the actual speed in flight is still ahead of the others, and that is the bird. If you're hunting game birds, pheasants and partridge, and that's your sole game, your sole interest, then it has to be a goshawk for you if you want to catch them in fair flight, and that's your only source. For sure, they have the edge on speed. Someone once said in a country magazine I read as a teenager, Harris hawks and goshawks, this is the difference. The Harris hawk, you young'uns won't get this, you won't know what I'm talking about. The Harris hawk is like a Sierra Cosworth. That is fast and manoeuvrable. But the goshawk, that's a Ferrari. They're both fast cars. And of course, the Ferrari is going to break down and be a pain to drive around town as your everyday drive as well. So it might be faster, it might outmaneuver the Sierra Cosworth, but your Sierra Cosworth's fast. You can live with it on a daily basis. For me, goshawks, one irritating thing is their nervous energy that Carl talked about. So when I ran a team of 10 birds of prey from home, falcons, owls, eagles, kites, goshawks, buzzards, if I was in my garden doing a bit of DIY, maybe I was sawing a plank of wood. I can tell you now, every bird in my garden would be on one foot, fluffed up, relaxing in the sunshine, cocking their head to one side. Oh, look at Dave, he's a bit interesting, don't know what he's doing, but yeah, let's watch him. This is what the goshawk would be doing. This is a really well-manned, well-trained goshawk. Up to its perch, jumping off its perch, jumping up to its perch, jumping off its perch, panting. A little bit, getting a little bit stressed out. I'd end up hooding it while I was working in a garden like that because it would get a little bit stressed out. They are highly strung. If your personality is like that, it's not a good combination. Goshawk soaring above, waiting on flight while you and your dog are working game below, much more difficult. Harris hawks, easy. They love soaring, and redtails, it's in their nature to soar. And when you see those two birds soaring, stooping at game, they give you a wow factor that you're not likely to see with the goshawk, because birds in a stoop, it is one of nature's miracles. When you see them dropping like a stone, absolutely amazing. So summing up, it doesn't matter what anybody tells you, none of the three birds are best. Absolutely not. It is all down to what you want to fly, the falconry you want for yourself, and your personality. And of course, the males and females of each species will give you differences in what they chase. Please don't get one as a beginner's bird. If you're not one of the 80 or 90% of dabblers in the UK falconry and you aspire to be a proper falconer, get one of the three that you want to fly. When I saw 3 goshawks sitting amongst a friend's weathering lawn of redtails and Harris hawks and falcons, I knew, because of the land I had, that I always wanted to fly a goshawk. So at 21, when I was earning £95 a week, I brought a goshawk for £1,200. I probably spent another 500 or 600 in those days building its housing and everything in its kit. Get the one you want, because you'd have done the research if you're not a dabbler. You'd have gone out many times with decent falconers that you've managed to find and listened, more than not so much of this, listen to what they had to say, watch their falconry. You're capable as a novice of flying either of those 3 birds. Get the one you want and the one you want to keep, because it will get better with age. But that doesn't apply to the dabblers. That's where the Harris hawk falls down. Dabblers can get away with flying a Harris hawk and get a bit out of their falconry. Make falconry your lifestyle, live and breathe falconry, aspire to fly that hawk hunting at least 5 days a week. Then you'll be a proper falconer. Then you will have so much success, it will just snowball and snowball and snowball, whatever bird you're flying. Pick the one you love. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it gave you a bit of food for thought. Don't rush into anything. Think about it, work it out, look at it, do your research. More importantly, right now, subscribe.